so for today we're going to be working on making your actors find your player, or at least be able to detect whenever your player is near. So this is going to take a little bit of math, and for anybody who just groaned right now, hit yourself in the face, because that's something that you're going to have to learn to deal with. You got to have math. I enjoy math. Math's fun time. It also helps you find bad nasties out in the universe, so if you want to do that, you got to learn math. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go in here, and I'm going to make a new actor. Hey, we haven't done that in a while. This is a new actor. I'm going to call this guy. I'm going to click on that actor. We're going to go in here, change the name. And I'm going to call him Enemy 1. Because that's fun. Now, I've already got something red and something blue. So, I need to have another color here. He's a bad guy. Now, green's like gives you kind of the feeling like you should do it, right? So, I'm going to go yellow. Yellow, yeah. Yellow is the sign, is the color of death and stuff. And in Asian cultures, yeah, sure. Do orange? No, that's caution. I want yellow. Like, stay away, you know, like snakes. Anyway, we're talking about that too much. We're moving on to Enemy 1. And with Enemy 1, we want to go ahead and change a few things. We want to make sure that we have it as movable. We're going to have it move towards your character. We're going to make sure fixed rotation. We don't have to worry about that. Bounciness, I'm going to set that for 0. Friction may not matter, but let's set that for 0 as well, just so it doesn't slow down. Density can stay as is. And we're going to start adding some code. Now, I want this character to collide with everything that should be a wall or a platform. So I'm going to do collide here, and I'm going to do wall here. And I don't care. I don't really care if it collides with the player or not. So I'm just going to leave the wall and the platform as 2 collision types. Now, what I want to do is set up something that will make you guys have a lot more functionality for anything else you wanted to add into the game. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in a change attribute, and I'm going to have to start making some more variables here pretty quick. So first thing we need to do is we're going to go back to our player, okay, and we have to make our player start giving out some information. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our behaviors list down here, and we're going to get this one called constrain attribute. Now, we've used change attribute in the past. This time, constrain is what we're going to use. We're going to drag in a constrain. Now, the difference between constrain and change is that change changes the attribute one time, okay? And it keeps it there until it says change it to something else, okay? But constrain will constantly update, so you're always getting new versions of whatever that value is. So if you need something that's always checking for a new value, you want to use constrain instead of attribute. So we're going to have 2 constraints actually, and then we're going to go back out to our game. We're setting everything up right now, so stay with me, Jackie. All right, and right here we're going to go back to our game, into the inspector. We're going to go to attributes, and we're going to make our first game attribute. Now, there are 2 different kinds of attributes you can have. I know you might say, well, hey, Hammontree, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's true, there's 6. But there's 2 different places you can have attributes. You can have them in the game, right here, or you can have them just on the player. Attributes that are just on the player can only be seen by the player, that's it. Attributes that are in the game, however, can be seen by everybody. So that's something to keep in mind. We're going to show you why that means something right now. So first off, we need to make a couple game attributes. We do that right here in this attributes section right here. For these, we want to use integers because we're going to be feeding the other pieces in the game that want to be able to find our player. We're going to be feeding them X and Y coordinates. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say player pose for position X. And then we're going to make another one. Same thing. We want another integer. And we're going to make this one, if you already guessed it, it's going to be player POS Y. Okay, so that tells us the X position and the Y position of our player. Okay, now here's how we're going to use it. We're going to go back to the actor, go into the player here, into our constrain attribute. We're going to constrain the game attribute. So now you see here's game, here's player. We're going to go into game right here. And we have to look for our attributes that we just created. Okay, so this will be player X, and we're going to constrain the game attribute player position X to the players. So we're going to go in here to player, and we're going to go to position X, position X of our player, and then we're going to go down here. We're going to do the same thing for game position player. Oh, I spelled player wrong, but that's okay. You don't have to. Don't worry about that. It's just, I screwed up a little bit, and that's all right. We're going to go in here. We're going to do self position, and we want the position, which is right here, and Y. Okay. Now, sometimes people will put these up at the top because this is something that's a control behavior, but I'm going to retitle this passing X position. Gives us a pretty good idea of what this is supposed to do. Passing Y position. Okay. And if you want to help your organization be a little bit more easy to read, you can highlight a couple things here if you want to. Hit create group, and it'll pop a little wrapper around this so everything is together when you want to go look for it. So I've popped this into a group. I'm going to title this players broadcast player position. There we go. Now we are putting that information out for the entire game to see. So as the game gets played, anything we put in here is going to be able to find our player. So our enemy needs to find that. So we're going to go in here to enemy. And what we want to do is we're going to check and see how close our player is to our box right here. Okay. So what I want to do, I'm going to create a rule. I'm going to end up using this inside the rule, so I'm going to go ahead and drag it in. So what we're looking at is we're comparing the attribute of the game attribute of player position X. Is it, now this is something that you're going to have to kind of think about and maybe even draw it if you need to. I've seen people do that before and it works just fine. So we're going to compare two X positions. We want to see behind our player, our actor right here, this enemy character. We want to see behind it and in front of it only to a certain point. So let me show you what that means. So we're going to compare player position X. Is it less than or equal to, because we're using that, less than or equal to the enemy 1 position X plus, let's say 200. Let's say 300, just so it'll be a little further out. Okay, so let's see. Am I doing this right? Okay, game player position X less than or equal to player position X plus 300. So that means wherever the actor is, less than 300 pixels to the right of that. So we're looking to be no more than 300 pixels to the right. And then the other side of that's going to be the attribute, and we're just checking the X position right now. You can actually do this with the Y as well. We're going to compare the game player X position, and we're going to see, is it greater than, and some of you may be following along with this and you already got an idea of what we're doing here, position X less than 300. Okay, so we're checking for 300 pixels in front and 300 pixels behind on either side of this character, of this enemy 1 right here. If we see that, I'm just going to have it change its color. Okay, so I'm going to add some red in. Right now red is probably nothing. Let's see, red's at 0.993. Well, let's add some blue actually then, because that'll really change the color. Okay, and you can affect single parts of the color by going into this and messing with color by itself. So it looks like blue has a 0, so I'm going to change blue to 1. And then if it's outside of that area, I want it to change itself back to yellow. So all I got to do in that case is change blue back to 0. Now if you wanted this thing to go into random rainbow colors, you can definitely do that. But for instance here, for this kind of teaching purpose, I don't really want to go into too much because we want to make this quick. So all it's going to do is change color whenever we get in range. Okay, so I saved it real quick. Let's go back to our scene. I'm going to pop this thing in right here. Now I can be up here, it can be down here, because we're not comparing Y values, we're just comparing X. So I'm going to leave it right there. And let's see what happens. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm scared. Oh, it should be working. Oh, there, it popped over to white. Okay, so it can see us whenever we get within 300 pixels. Okay. Now, if I got on the other side of it, you'd be able to see that when I pass across, it changes back. So let me start here. All right, we're within range and we're out of range. Okay. Now this can be really helpful for a lot of things. Okay. Maybe you want a character to be able to find your player. So what you're going to want to do is set this up, and then as soon as it finds it, instead of changing color, we could have it move towards or accelerate towards that person. Okay. So I'm going to change the color and actually set accelerate toward as well. And let's just see what happens. Okay. So right there, we get a little close. Oh, it's coming after me. I got to get away. Ah. Okay. We got away from it. It changed back. And let's see if I get a little close to it again. If it starts coming after me. Nope, doesn't. Because for one thing, all I did was set it for 0, 0, 0. It looked like it was coming after me. You guys thought I did it, but no. But what you can do if you want is you can go in here. Now since we have the position of the player, we can go in here and add in the X. That's this one right here. It doesn't say X and Y. I think it should, but it says kind of basically left and right and up and down. So up and down would be Y. So we'll go in here and change that game position Y. Polyr. That's what I spelled it as because I'm not real quick today. All right, here we go. Preview. And we go towards it. It's coming for me. Ah, why? Okay. And then I run away. And I got to get away quicker than it. Oh, man, this thing's fast. Okay, I'm going to try and run away. Stay away from me, you freak. All right, and it won't do it. Okay. There it goes. Okay, so it stopped. So since the last time it had any direction, it was floating that way. That's the way it's going to go. If you want to, you can always put in a change attribute of 0 right here, and it'll just stop. Why don't we do that for fun? Change attribute, enemy, let's see, motion, linear velocity X. Since it's accelerate toward, it's actually doing X and Y, so we'll need to make sure where we set both of these to 0. So if we go in here for 0 for Y, set that to 0, we got X, we got Y. Let's try this again. I think I need to make my guy a little faster because this thing was really catching up to me. Let's see, left and right. Let's set that for, yeah, we're doing 200. I want to do 300. I'm going to smoke this thing. So,
Mr. Hammontree?
No, Magda.
No,
Not really.
yes,
Okay, here we go, Lick. See that? See? Oh, and it stopped. And it stopped. Yay! And it went up, and it stopped right where you want it to, as opposed to just floating off, which you may want it to float off. Maybe you don't. But here's how to pass off the X and Y position of your player, how to make it so an enemy or any other part of your set can detect them using this kind of setup right here. You can always just change the 300 that's in these formulas to get a wider range or a smaller range or detect all around by using X and Y together. And that's pretty much it, guys. So hopefully you got some good stuff out of this. I appreciate all this kind of stuff. Magda says she hates you all, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.